At the end of last week, we talked about the teacher who had been cleared of a racially aggravated public order offence. I read you Nesreen Malik's rather splendid column in The Guardian about what springs into your mind, what possible offence springs into your mind when you read or hear the words racially aggravated public order offence. It's probably fair to say that you wouldn't imagine a young teacher holding up a placard depicting a palm tree with Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman portrayed as coconuts. But it is precisely that placard, which on the reverse had an image of Suella Braverman portrayed as Cruella de Vil. It was precisely that image that saw Marieha Hussain arrested, prosecuted, and ultimately in Westminster Magistrates Court, where last Friday she was, as we say, cleared of a racially aggravated public order offence. And Marieha joins me now. Marieha, thank you for your time today. I know that I think you're 9 months pregnant, so I'm particularly grateful to you for finding time to squeeze us in this morning.
Hi, James. No, thank you for having me on. And yes, you're absolutely correct. I am about 3 weeks away from giving birth.
Oh, gosh, everything fingers crossed for you. I suspect you've been asked all the questions that I want to ask you already. So I'll just begin by the moment of arrest, if I may. What happened? Was there a knock on the door? Your picture went viral, partly through the efforts of a deeply questionable social media account, and you were identified. So just talk us through that moment. What happened and what your reaction was?
Sure. So the first thing to clarify is that I actually was never arrested.
Right.
That's been going around, but I was never arrested. I made my way through the protest that day. Everything was completely fine. There were no issues whatsoever. Although it looks like I'm smiling and posing for the picture, I was actually unaware of who took the picture and that it had been uploaded online to Harry's place. An important point I think we should come back to in a minute. I found out that the police were looking for me and had written underneath this Harry's Place post on my way home. I made myself aware to the police by Monday.
So what you went to the station and said, "This is me," or you phoned them up, or?
Oh, no, my lawyers did. So I
Yes.
got lawyers up, we did all of that. And through my lawyers, I made myself known to the police
Right.
by Monday. And we were booked in for a voluntary police interview for Tuesday.
And presumably you couldn't quite believe how things then unfolded.
I couldn't believe what was happening at the time and what has happened since then. No, it's very surreal.
The phrase you've used that I think resonates would be that only people who do not understand the term find it offensive. That the idea that for you as a person of colour to accuse somebody else, another person of colour, of being a coconut, which for anybody who needs subtitles essentially portrays the idea that you're brown on the outside but white on the inside, upholding unfair systems where white people enjoy special privilege despite not being white yourself, is a relatively commonplace criticism.
It is. It's a valid and legitimate criticism of people in high office who've used their position of power and really misused it and abused it and really targeted specific elements of our society. Had they been white, I would have drawn something else on my placard, but they were brown, and so this was legitimate political critique. And the judge, Vanessa Lloyd, found it to be exactly just that, part of political commentary.
Well, satire as well, because it's
Oh, yes.
clearly intended as comedy of sorts. I mean, you're very upbeat, and I know you've said that you've had no regrets, but you must have contemplated the possibility of giving birth in prison.
Well, no, because prison was never on the cards
Was it not?
anyway.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's not a crime considered serious enough for prison. It was always going to be a conviction and a fine of some sort. But really, what's happened with my image and my reputation and the way that I was vilified by the media, the loss of my job.
Just let me pause you there. How did you just talk me through the loss of your job, if you would?
So I I had just returned of maternity leave in September, went to the protest in November, and by December, Christmas holidays, I had to sign essentially a settlement with the school. So we parted ways,
Okay.
but of course, the bottom line is that wouldn't have happened had the police not put my picture out rather irresponsibly, and the media picked up on it. There would have been nothing really for me to leave my job over.
And yet you have no regrets,
No,
despite
no, I
despite the disruption to your life and your family's life. You feel that the principle was more important than your treatment.
I think that the issue of political critique, free speech, and the issue of cracking down on political dissent with regards to Palestine and pro-Palestine marches, um, it was for a greater good. And I accept that sacrifice and I accept the disruption to my life.
And that is the point, isn't it? That it is very difficult to imagine this case of being pursued with the alacrity that it was pursued if you had been marching for a different cause, or and I'd invite your comments on this, or if perhaps there had been a different regime in the Home Office.
Yes, I think that one of the really important, crucial elements of this that came out at trial was that Harry's place is a it was described as a secretive political blog based in Washington. And they uploaded my picture, called me a racist on there with that placard. And the Metropolitan Police, it's documented, they commented on it within 6 minutes. I mean, it's questionable that contact because what what crime could they have assessed within 6 minutes? What care did they give to my safety, putting my picture up here in the UK in 6 minutes? From then on, they pursued me all the way to trial. And what's really happened is that they've taken their instruction from this political blog that has pro-Israeli, anti-Palestinian agendas, and then used hate speech laws to criminalize me and try and take this to trial. And they were obviously unsuccessful there. Another really key important thing to say at this point is that the prosecution was unable to bring a single expert to trial to prove that coconuts is abusive or it's a racial slur. And anybody they did contact refused to participate. And actually, in a really strange turn of events, one of the professors, the leading professor, Kehendi Andrews, actually rebuffed them. He wrote a lengthy email asking for it to be sent to the CPS, in which he explained why it's not a racial slur and this really must not be pursued by the CPS.
And yet,
And
on they cracked, so to speak. Their statement: our prosecutors reviewed this case carefully and concluded there was enough evidence for it to be presented to a court. So they couldn't cite a single expert witness from the realms of race study or race relations to confirm the impetus for the prosecution in the first place.
yes, James, it was a 2-day trial and they couldn't produce a single expert witness. And the one that they did produce, sorry, got a statement
Yeah.
from, that it's not a racial slur
He
and
was
to
doing the
drop
opposite
it.
of what they wanted. He was telling them to give their heads a wobble
They
collectively.
must drop it. Yes, and James, it's really important to note that actually Professor Kendi Andrews is actually being probed by the police as we speak. So for supporting the placard.
Um,
Um, and
Martin's been in touch. I think you'll appreciate this. The first time I heard the word coconut was when, in this context, was when Romesh Ranganathan said that his mum used to call him one, and I think your dad used to use the word to describe you as well.
yes, so it's got cultural meaning, and then the way that I used it was in the political sense.
Yes.
Absolutely valid, completely legitimate, and what I'm really worried about and what I really question was the police conduct and the CPS conduct
Well, I
in
sense you're
this.
not going to let that lie. So what is next for you, both professionally and in the context of this case?
You know, James, actually, the thing that comes before both of those is that I need to give birth. I need to give some.
I thought women could multitask, Maria. What are you talking about?
I've been multitasking for 9 months, James. I need a little break.
Okay.
Um, but all doors are open to me. I don't know what's going to happen professionally. I don't know what's going to happen with the CPS at the moment.
Okay.
But I am disturbed, distressed, I'm outraged And I'm really upset and hurt by the way the police treated me on that day, the way the CPS have pursued me um, the whole time, despite being told not to do this by experts. And I just leave all the doors open. I need to
Okay.
have this first.
Yeah, on the list of reasonable reasons for not doing things, I think that yours is very, very near the top. But I'll end with a hypothetical, if I may. Once baby is happily and safely delivered and mum is fully recovered, if, God forbid, the carnage continues in Gaza, can you conceive of circumstances in which you would march again with the same placard?
I have absolute every legal, legitimate, and valid right to carry that placard. Um, and more importantly, as soon as I've recovered, I do plan to go straight back to the marches and support the cause Palestine and demand a ceasefire.
Well, good luck with everything that is on the immediate horizon, and indeed the ones that are further away. Marieha Hussain, the teacher there, who was cleared of racially aggravated public order last week after holding a placard at a pro-Palestinian protest depicting Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman as coconuts. And for the avoidance of doubt, the judge sitting in that case was clear that it was a deployment of political satire, something which both Nels Abbey, who the author who has followed this case very, very closely, and now Marieha, reminded us a prosecution that failed to find a single expert prepared to support the grounds for the prosecution.